What riding a Harley taught me about life. There's just something about riding a motorcycle on the open road that can't be beat. It's the feeling of freedom with wind in your face, and it's the distinctive rumble of the Harley Davidson engine. And maybe it's just the time alone, a chance to contemplate on life, a chance to reflect on issues. All of these things make riding a Harley special, and if you look closely, it's not just about getting from point A to B. It can be a journey that gives you insight into life, and it can allow you to shape the perspective that you have on life. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 life lessons that I've learnt from riding a Harley. So whether you're a seasoned motorcyclist or just somebody who's curious about a motorcycling lifestyle, these insights go beyond the road and they speak to the heart of what it means to truly live. Now, number 1 is embrace the journey, not the destination. What a cliche. Everyone's heard that, lots of people say it, but what does it truly mean? Let's get into it and have a look. So if you allow it, riding a Harley teaches you to appreciate and to enjoy the experiences on a journey to wherever you're going. And enjoying those experiences is important to your whole life. When I was younger, motorcycle riding was all about getting somewhere fast. It was goal orientated. It was all about racing, competition. It was all about hooning with my friends, getting to the destination as fast as possible. Even though I loved motorcycles, I sort of treated it like it was transport from point A to point B just via motorcycle because it was fun. I've got to admit this phase lasted a long time. It was all about going to work, visiting a friend, getting to that city, and no matter what happened, we did it fast. It was goal orientated and it was focused on the achievement of the activity. Let's go and have a track day. Let's ride as fast as we can and race each other to that city over there. You've probably done it yourself. Now initially back in the Evo days in the early 90s, I switched to a Harley Davidson in order to slow down, but what I was actually doing was exactly the same, just at a slower pace. It wasn't really till I got older that I started to appreciate the ride more. I started to appreciate being outside in nature, especially at the times when I had a desk job. And of course, I'd appreciate the weather, whether it was hot or cold, whether it was sunny or raining, all of it made up a very sometimes intense experience. And I also started enjoying the stops where you get to meet people, where you get to socialise with people, and where you get to experience new places. And just recently I went for a ride with a local hog group, and they were a great example of how to appreciate the journey. Cold, but better than what we've had before. We rode to a country town just north of Melbourne, and back in the day when I was younger, I would have travelled via the fastest route, that's straight up the freeway, and I would have tried to get there as fast as I can, running the gauntlet like Smokey and the Bandit. So what was interesting about this ride and other hog rides that I've been on, they plan the trip and we always take the scenic route. which means lots of winding roads, lots of beautiful scenery. And they also plan stops so you get to see different places and socialise with people. It really does make a pleasant journey. So when it comes to life, I've also learnt that the journey is not only pleasurable, it's also very important. And I've learnt this from both my achievements and my failures. You see, when you're goal orientated, you often get to your destination or you achieve your goal and you find that there's not much in it, or it wasn't as good as you expected. Sometimes it's a hollow victory, and later on when you look back, the achievement is pretty much meaningless. And that's interesting because when you're achieving a goal, the journey is where all of your time is spent. So in my view, you want to make the journey as pleasant as possible. It's sort of like the sad comment you hear sometimes when someone says, I spent most of my life working my way up the corporate ladder and I didn't really see the kids grow up. You see, embracing the journey is a subtle mind shift from being goal orientated to being process orientated. And it's an important distinction because if you're process orientated, you're going to probably achieve your goal anyway, but you've got a much better chance of enjoying the journey where you're spending all your time. The journey is all the fun moments in life because it's all of the moments in your life. We've all experienced that time seems to have elastic qualities, really depends on your circumstances and what you're doing, your state of mind. Well, here's an exercise that will help you experience the journey. Now, I picked this up in a workshop a couple of decades ago. It works really well, and all you've got to do as you're doing an activity, let's say you're walking down the street, you're walking your dog, all you've got to do is nominate to yourself, and that's through your self-talk, as many things as you can see. So it's as simple as walking along and saying, well, there's a leaf, there's a twig on a branch, dirt, grass, pathway, sun, fog, spiderweb, flower. Do this without thinking about each thing. As soon as you start to think, you're at least partly in a daydream and you miss the journey. It sounds like it'll drive you mad. It doesn't. Now, if you practice that a lot, what'll happen is you'll become a lot more present and you'll start to notice things. And I think that's important to do. Have a think about this. There's probably a letterbox 4 houses up from your house in the direction that you go to work in the morning. Try and think right now of what that letterbox looks like. Describe it, its size, its colour, the materials it's made of, and then go and have a look and see if that's an accurate description. Because most people won't be able to do that, yet you'll pass by that letterbox all the time. And that's pretty normal because there are trillions of inputs into our life and it's very difficult to notice everything, but it helps wake you up from your daydream. The more you notice, the more you're going to experience the journey. Now, when you wake up and you see what your journey actually consists of, there'll be two interesting sides to it. You'll either appreciate what you're doing from moment to moment, from day to day, or you're going to realize how crap things are. And you'll have the ability, because you'll see what's happening, you'll have the ability to change your life and make it better. That brings us to number 2, which is going to be about safety. But on topic, our sponsor today is Resurgence Gear Motorcycle Clothing, and they're all about safety. I'm wearing one of their motorcycle shirts now, AAA rated, very safe, very comfortable, awesome product. Now we know it's safe, just like their jeans. They've tested them publicly under the most extreme circumstances. You've probably seen me show this clip before.
Holy crap! Only the jean. The P-cap's still there, look.
Straight through the jean, but not through the P-cap at all. Nothing. It's not even like broken or...
Now don't forget to use the code OldNotDead. That'll give you a 10% discount because Resurgence Gear supports the channel and wants to help you. Now, of course, don't forget our supporter gear at oldnotdead.club. Grab some merchandise. It helps the channel. I really appreciate it. And for both Resurgence Gear and our merchandise, for those of you who are overseas, like America, England, Canada, the exchange rate is in your favor. you're only paying peanuts for our products. So number 2 is take responsibility for your own safety. Now, when you ride any motorcycle, you very quickly come to realise, and I know all of you will relate to this, you very quickly realise no one's going to look out for you. You've got to do it all yourself. It's up to you. And the nuances to riding a large, loud Harley Davidson, it's a little bit different to other motorcycles, but I think you'll all understand what I'm getting at. I've prattled on about safety issues riding your motorcycle before. I'm a great believer in going with the flow. Don't ride your motorcycle if you're angry or upset. Be as aggressive as you like, but make sure you weigh up the risks and the circumstances in terms of what you're doing. And I've mentioned before countless other things that will keep you safe while you're riding. So I really think you ride safe when you take the responsibility for riding safe on your own shoulders. Because really, it's no good blaming a car that hits you after the fact, because it's too late. You're much better off taking responsibility and doing everything in your power and learning as much as you can to keep yourself safe. And the same applies to life. You need to take responsibility for your own safety. So when it comes to personal safety, I can't count the number of people that I've seen put themselves at risk, put themselves in dangerous situation because they didn't want to take responsibility. Just a simple thing like locking your doors. It's amazing how many people go to sleep in the evening without locking their doors or windows. Why would you risk that? What about walking down dark alleys and deserted areas in the middle of the night? I've seen people get indignant because they demand the right to be safe in those circumstances. Well, it would be nice, but look, I can look after myself pretty well, and I don't go down dark alleys or through the park in the middle of the night if there's a way around. Prevention's always better than cure, and in those sorts of circumstances, it takes the police a long time to respond compared to what can happen in a matter of seconds. So you've really got to take responsibility. What about hanging around with the wrong people? What about just opening your mouth when you don't need to? When I was a young guy, I used to bounce in nightclubs as a part-time job. Sometimes I'd be standing on the door with other bouncers who, let's just say, were tending towards the violent side of life. It used to amaze me the number of young guys who would be drunk out on the street. They'd come up to the door of the nightclub and they would start to throw insults at us, the bouncers. Fortunately, I'm a nice guy and I understood that they had had too much to drink, but very often I would see other bouncers take them around the corner and give them a shellacking. Now, it's the drink talking, but talk about irresponsible for your own personal safety. And we can extend this to our health. How many people rely solely on what a doctor says, even though their knowledge is limited? They're fantastic at certain things, but they can't help you with everything. And if you take responsibility, you'll find that there's an endless stream of information now. It's going to help you avoid most issues. There are a lot of things that can go wrong with us, but often people resort very quickly to medication, which only really masks the symptoms. I can't count the number of issues that I've fixed by stretching and by changing my diet. And I've seen other people with these exact same issues run straight to the doctor, grab some tablets, which are going to have short or long-term effects, and medicate themselves and just mask the symptoms for a little bit of short-term relief. You'll probably find that most issues have a basic or a simple cure. And if you take responsibility for your own health, you'll probably avoid a lot of things in the long term. And I guess it's interesting to see the trend in society. Everything's got a safety net now. Everything's got regulations around it. Even our cars and our motorcycles have driver or rider safety aids. Now, that can be a good thing, I guess, if it saves somebody. But the question is it going to give you a false sense of security? Are you going to lose some of the skills you picked up before those driver aids came into being? Put in the comments, does it make a difference? Are they good or bad? And number 3 is valuing the simple pleasures of life. Now, that's another cliche, so let's figure out exactly what that means. If I'm riding my street glide, I never ever turn the stereo on. I always just listen to the sound of the engine. That's a simple pleasure. I only wear a full face helmet for a couple of months in winter when it's really cold. I like wearing an open face helmet. I can feel the wind on my face. That's a simple pleasure. And I can actually smell my surroundings. It sort of makes me actually feel like I'm outside, not in a car. To me, it makes the motorcycling experience a lot more real makes me feel a lot more free and alive. And they're such simple things to enjoy if you actually tune into them and really experience them. Well, I guess just motorcycling, full stop, is a very simple experience that all of us enjoy. Now, if I look back over my life, I can see that a lot of the pleasurable things, a lot of the best experiences were simple and they were free. Like helping a friend or receiving help when I needed it, watching my children play as they grew up, and even really simple things can bring a lot of pleasure. A fresh cup of coffee, warming up when you're cold, sleeping in when you're tired, the smell of spring when it starts to warm up. And if you slow down and start to appreciate the journey, you start to notice these things more and more, and you come to appreciate them more. Some people are always busy, they're always doing something, they're always looking for something to keep them occupied. I see it a lot. People don't want to be alone with their thoughts. Sometimes it can be scary. Your self-talk can be scary. But seriously, if you don't slow down to smell the roses, how are you going to understand what really suits you? How are you going to experience the journey? And it really helps if you can simplify your life in terms of material possessions. Having possessions takes energy, it takes maintenance. And I don't mean throw everything away. I mean don't hoard things. Perhaps get rid of things that you don't use. Sometimes focusing on more simple things in life shows you what you do and don't need to keep. And a simple life allows you to slow down and enjoy what you actually have. And you can expand on what's really important to you. Perhaps that's family, friends, health, because it's also about what nourishes you personally as a human being. So give simple pleasures a chance if you haven't already. You might be surprised at what you get from them. And if you like today's video, you're going to love the video I link here.
Using all that's left, somewhere in your chest, on your sweetheart hidden mist. Oh, oh.